Lately I've been thinking about this life and how it brought me here. Staring at this man in the mirror, I see him often here. Wipe my tears, only if you knew what I was going through. Only if you walked it in my shoes. Certain things don't like to talk about, but I'll always remember. The chaos in my mind turned my heart out in November. I'm surrounded by too many doors, not sure which way I entered. But I'm rocking with my loved ones, let you know that front and center. Found out my skin's tough as leather, I can storm through any weather. Addiction was the hardest battle I ever endeavored. It takes
I remember doing it, and they're like, only hit it twice.
Yeah.
Me, I'm gonna hit it like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
remember getting stuck. Man, that shit's crazy, dude. You ever
I've
done
died.
Yeah, one time.
it? It's crazy, dude.
Did it one time.
I died in my homeboy's basement from it.
Really?
My homeboy, yeah. I died. His mother and the neighbor found me. I was completely dead. Yeah, because they were like, let us smoke with you. And I'm like, no. Every time you guys smoke with me, I don't get high.
Welcome to the Message Hope podcast, where the hope stands for hearing other people's experience. My name is Adam.
My name is Mike, and today on the show we have Tammy in the studio. Welcome, Tammy.
Thank you.
Yeah. How you doing today, Tammy?
Good.
Okay. All right.
All right, so Tammy, we usually start it out the same way every time. We ask about where you grew up, how you grew up, if you had brothers and sisters, if there was addiction or alcoholism in the family growing up, things like that. So,
Okay.
so where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Colton, California, on the east side.
All right.
And my mother still lives in the same house, and I still live on the same street as I grew up in. I grew up with a mother and a father. They were both alcoholics. They each drank a 30-pack a day.
Okay.
I had a little sister who was born after me, and she had crib death. So she died when she was 8 months old, but they brought her back. And but she was in a wheelchair her whole life
Oh, wow.
because her brain was shut off for too long.
Yeah.
So she wasn't able to talk or walk or nothing like that. And due to my parents' alcoholism, you know, they put her in a home. They were incapable of taking care of her.
Wow.
So I was basically an alone child.
So right away she went into the home?
Not right away. My mother tried, you know, but like she had to be taken, and like she had to be put in the bathtub with me to take a bath, so she didn't drown in the bath.
Yeah.
She had to be fed every meal. She had to be taken and sat on the toilet. She couldn't, you know, she couldn't get out of bed. She couldn't talk at all. She had a board that they created for her to talk on. It was kind of really hard because, you know, she got all the attention. She got a lot of attention, you know. And, well, I mean, I just ran around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I had an older half-sister. I didn't really grow up with her. I used to spend time with her at my grandparents' house, but she was my dad's first daughter from a different marriage. And I don't know. I looked up to her a lot, but I wasn't, it's not like we were close, really.
So she lived at
She
your
lived in-
grandmother's?
No, she lived in Grand Terrace.
Oh, okay.
She grew up in Grand Terrace.
And you would just see her there?
Yeah, I
your
would see her there or at my grandparents', or if we would go to the river. It was like a weekend thing if she did come, but her mom and my dad would fight so much, you know, over child support and stuff like that, that she really didn't let her come. She, you know, it was a battle for her to come over.
Okay. What was your experience like in school growing up in Colton?
In school, I really didn't like school.
Okay.
Growing up in Colton, of course, like it's a Mexican town.
Yeah.
So I kind of grew up like I was a Mexican.
Yeah. You didn't feel different?
In
growing
the
up?
beginning, I only felt different because I used to have to wear hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
So I felt like out of pocket. I felt like different, you know, and but I felt different because of some other things. But growing up in school, like if you didn't fit in with the crowd, then you were bullied or jumped, or you know, whatever. They would, they would harass you. And I can remember I would steal money out of my mom's purse to go to the liquor store to buy, back in the day, you could fill up a whole brown bag of candy for like $5, $10. And I would just take it to school and pass it around to everybody. But I can remember, always going to the nurse's station and telling them I was sick so I could go home. That was the only way I could go home. I was very uncomfortable in school, and I think a lot of it had to do with what happened to me as a little girl. I just felt like everybody could see me. But, growing up, and I was really good in school. Like, I was a good handwriter. I could remember doing really well till like the 5th grade, and that's when I started smoking weed.
Yeah.
And so the weed became more exciting for me then, because it helped me to feel like I didn't have to feel anymore.
Yeah.
But I can remember being a good student as far as, I know my mom still has like these little white certificates
Yeah.
that I would get for, I had a 3rd grade teacher, her name was Miss Green, and she taught me how to handwrite. And I used to love to handwrite, and because of the way I grew up, we used to draw on our peaches, me and so always and forever, and do all that kind of stuff, and I used to be really good at math too, but when I started using, it's like all that disappeared.
Yeah.
I can still handwrite to this day, but I'm not that good in math, but just growing up in Colton, I learned early on that I had to fight. My dad taught me how to fight, so I had to be a fighter because I was being bullied. This one girl was taking my lunch money, and I just got jumped into a little gang in junior high school.
Okay.
And got taken behind the PE building and got the shit beat out of me.
Yeah.
And then after that, I never had any problems
Right.
because the whole crew was coming.
Yeah.
If you messed with one of us, the whole crew was coming, and I liked that.
Yeah.
And it made me feel safe from some other things. There were other things that were going on in my life as a little girl that I feel like I had to be protected.
Yeah.
And and drugs did that for me too.
Right.
I did get all the way up to 9th grade at Colton High School, but then I had a little cousin on my dad's side of the family that was saying things to me, and I just picked up my chair and threw it at him, and it accidentally hit the teacher. And so they threw me out of that school and told my mother I couldn't go back there. I got kicked out a lot during junior high school. I was sent to Rialto, to Frisbee. I was sent to their even their elementary in 6th grade. I was a little fighter. So I ended up going to Slover, and I made it all the way up to, I think I got credits all the way up to the 11th grade, but then I don't even know how I got those credits. I don't know if I was cheating or having somebody else do my homework. I'm not really sure, because I got credits to this day, but I never graduated. Yeah.
Okay. So what was it like getting put onto the neighborhood and like all like that whole culture? Were you like having to do stuff for them too? I mean, because it goes both ways, right? It's not like you just get the protection. Like also you got to be part of that protection too, right?
Well, a lot of it had to do with like when girls would come from other cities, they would get beat up.
Okay.
So and they didn't even have to do anything wrong. They just came. Because you weren't from Colton, you had to be from Colton. Nobody was allowed to walk into our town. Like if you're from the Flats, if you were from Rialto, if whatever town you were from and you came into our town, it didn't even matter if you were there with your parents. And somebody recognized you as an outsider, you were going to get jumped. You were going to get beat up for coming over here. And that's just the way it was. And as far as like real work, I mean, I was just basically in this gang in junior high school. I carried on some of the behavior, as far as going to Slover, but I was no longer part. Like, I still wasn't in the gang when I
Yeah.
was in Slover Mountain High School. But, you know, it was, we wore colors. We had our colors. We wore burgundy, we wore black, we wore white. We wore our colors from our town. And we wore jackets. The gang was called the Las Loquita Chicanas. And I remember I used to get teased a lot because I was white.
Yeah.
But they would say, don't call her that. She's not white, you know. They would call me a little inside out burrito. Yeah, they would call me Weta, but my nickname was Little Yams because they called me that because I used to smoke a lot of sherm.
Yeah.
So they said I was like a little vegetable. But yeah. But how it was like was, you know, for me, I just felt like it was something I had to do. If they said that I had to roll with them to go do something, then I just had to do it because I knew that it went both ways.
Right.
And it was important for me to feel protected and to be protected, you know, due to some things that were going on in my life that to other people, it might have been all in my mind, but for me, it was a reality from my childhood.
Right.
So, you know, it didn't last long. The whole gang didn't last long. As soon as we got out of junior high school, everybody was going their own way.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were you smoking sherm in middle school too?
Yes, I started smoking sherm in 6th grade. And I kind of liked that better just because my parents couldn't tell when I was on it. Anyways, my major high is I would do it while I was supposed to be in school,
Yeah.
but we were ditching all the time. So we'd be at the park, you know, we'd get so, like, hammered, like, where we couldn't move, plastered, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Right? Can't get off the bench.
Yeah.
But when I was smoking weed, my mom, she knew. She
Yeah.
could tell my eyes were bloodshot. When I smoked sherm, my eyes were never bloodshot.
Yeah. And you come out of it a little quicker.
And you do come out of it
Yeah.
a little bit, yeah. But in the beginning, though, you don't. Like I used to hallucinate a lot.
Yeah. I remember
know?
doing it and they're like, only hit it twice.
Yeah.
And me, I'm going to hit it like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I remember getting stuck. Dude, that shit is crazy,
Yeah.
dude. You ever
I've
done
died.
Yeah. One time.
it? It's crazy, dude.
Did it one time.
Yeah.
I died in my homeboy's basement from it.
Really?
My homeboy, yeah.
Damn.
I died. His mother and the neighbor found me. I was completely dead. Yeah, because they were like, let us smoke with you. And I'm like, no. Every time you guys smoke with me, I don't get high.
Yeah.
So let me smoke it myself. Like, I want to get lit.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay. And then I died, and my homeboy was like, don't come back here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, I mean, you know, it put him in jeopardy,
Yeah.
Right.
you know? But anyway, yeah, so, but sherm was my drug of choice. I liked it, but, you know, to get it, I had to steal out of my mom's purse. And it's kind of a sad deal because my pop used to get blamed for that.
Damn.
My mom thought my dad was stealing out of her purse, and it was me. And I would roll up the money, and I would hide it behind the dresser. I had a water bed. You know, I mowed yards to earn a water bed, so I would hide my pipes, my weed. I would hide my dust and my sherm inside the freezer because they didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
You know, I would hide it behind the meat. And but all my other paraphernalia, I would hide it in between my water bed, the thing, and my frame, because they would never look there,
Yeah.
you know. But my mom finally started finding the money. I don't know how, just ripping my room apart, and she found the $40 I had took. But it was every single day I was taking money out of her purse,
Damn.
every single day.
So, did it continue to be sherm? Has that always been your drug of choice? Or?
I think I stopped smoking sherm while I was doing meth. I was doing them at the same time.
Yeah.
So I stopped smoking sherm. I was probably like 25, 26. And I had did that because I was in a time in my life where I wasn't able to take care of my baby.
Okay.
I had my baby when she was 23, and I was still smoking sherm, running around, driving with her in the front seat of the car, no car seat, just laying down in the front seat, and I would hold on to her while I was driving, and I would be loaded. And it was a time in my life I had got busted with a sawed-off shotgun, loaded in the front seat of my car. It was one of my homeboys, but I got busted with it. And so I had asked my mom to take care of my little girl, and that was around the time when I stopped. I had to go do a little bit of time, and I had to go do a rehab to get that taken care of.
Yeah.
My mom helped me take care of that. But I started doing meth, like, I was already running away at the age of 12, so I started doing meth about then. But I started really liking it, like probably around 13. I was already living with the connection.
Damn.
And I used to run for him to live there. And he would try to sleep with me, and I'm like, I'm not sleeping with you, bro. Like, you're old enough to be my grandfather. And it would make me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I was willing to do whatever else, right? Like, I would sell my soul to him, right?
Yeah.
Wash his car, mow his yard, clean his house, decorate his house, paint his house, do his laundry. You know, and I was
13 years old.
Yeah, 13 years old.
Damn.
I was a little slave already.
Damn.
You know, and then I would go run for him to San Diego and drop off. You know, I didn't know who these people were. My job was just to drop it off, get the money, put it under the seat, and come home, come back to the house.
Damn.
And he was a big sherm head too. He loved to smoke sherm. So I always knew that whatever I did, I had a sack.
Yeah.
So, and I liked that because it gave me some type of control that nobody had control over me.
Yeah.
That was one of my biggest fears, I think, is somebody having control over me from the as young as I can remember.
Yeah.
Even with my own parents, I didn't want them having control over me either.
Yeah. So at 26 is around the time, or 26 is the first time you went to treatment?
No. I got dropped off in treatment when I was 17.
Okay.
Yeah, my pop took me in the backyard and sat me on a bar stool, and he told me that he was going to disown me. But I wasn't living at home. He asked me to come over, and I had just got some shit, and I had it in my pocket.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't afraid of my pop at that time because I wasn't living at home. But I had a big fear of him. And he had a Budweiser beer in his hand, and he told me, you need to go get help, or we're going to disown you. And I told him, you need to go get help. You know? How are you telling me to go get help while you have a beer in your hand? And I said, give me the weekend to think about it, because I just, I have some shit, and I'm going to do it all first. I'm not going to go get help.
Yeah.
And I said, it'll probably take me the weekend to do it all. And then I said, and then I'll let you know if I want to go or not. And then I ran out of the dope, and then I started feeling some type of way, like maybe they did care about me,
Yeah.
To have that conversation with me. Even though I didn't think about that till way later on. I felt angry,
Yeah.
And, but my mother did, and she drove me out to Los Angeles Ranch, and they told her I wasn't old enough, I had to be 18, and she wrote them a check, and they kept me there.
Damn.
Until I turned 18, and I ended up doing a year there. And then I just went right to the streets, to DHS, and started really messing up on speed out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of that out there.
DHS Desert Hot Springs?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. Why there?
I was sent there.
Oh, you
I
ran from
went to rehab.
I didn't know where the treatment was.
Yeah,
So it
the
was out
treatment
there.
was in DHS, and
Oh,
it was a men and women's rehab. That's actually where I met my daughter's dad. And we were sneaking over there.
Yeah. That's how all good love stories start.
Yeah.
Mike, that's one of those.
Yeah, I do.
But I wasn't there in the first place for myself. I was there. I felt like not to really be disowned, but I was disowned anyways.
Yeah.
I disowned them a long time ago, to be honest, when I left.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where it all began. And then going into DHS was like, and DHS stands for don't have shit.
Damn.
DHS,
Never
or
heard that one.
demons hunting speed. That's what
Yeah.
people used to call that town.
Damn.
And once you get in there, they say you're lucky if you get out,
Yeah.
because it's like a hole, it sucks you in.
Yeah.
So I started doing everything against what I was taught. Like how my parents used to teach me to mow yards if I wanted to go skating, or teach me, You know, if I wanted a pair of Vans, you know, I had to pay for half of them. Like anything I wanted, I had to work for, even if it was mowing yards, washing cars or whatever, sweeping somebody's porch or whatever. And when I got there, man, I was hanging around the wrong people, you know, and I was like, shit, this is fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just started going into houses. This chick would look up in newspapers about people who would die. And then we would go into their house because nobody would come back with for their shit.
Right.
Like it would either go to the state or whatever like that. So
Yeah.
I didn't really think I was doing anything wrong.
Yeah, they're dead.
Yeah, they're dead, they're gone, right?
Yeah.
And but like some weird shit would happen when we were tweaking and up long, and you know things would start moving around, you know, and make it feel like them people were in there.
Yeah.
So, but it feels like I just graduated, man, to start breaking into houses,
Yeah.
right? Looking for treasures or looking for shit that people worked hard for that I didn't.
Yeah.
You know, and I had no idea of what that was until today because I never worked. I was in my addiction. I was a welfare baby. I used my welfare to buy dope and used my food stamps to buy dope. So I didn't have no clue or no consideration for somebody going to work every day, right, for their stuff. And, you know, I ended up going to prison, you know, behind that and doing 8 years.
Damn. From what age to what age?
I got out in 2011. I'm not really sure what age.
Oh,
I
okay.
went in at 2004,
Yeah.
got out at 2011. I got out November 11/11.
11/11/11.
11/11/11 is the
Wow.
day my mom picked me up out of county.
Damn.
And, you know, there's so much to my story because I just been out there for so long, you know, but I can truly see where, like, God has played a part in my life because even when I was getting out for that term, you know, I went right back into the county fighting a third strike. And, you know, there is a God, you know what I mean? Because it's not me, and my whole life I felt like I was the God of my life because I'm the one who made the decisions, right?
In control.
I was the one who had control, right? I'm
Right.
not going to listen to what anybody has to tell me. It didn't even matter what kind of authority you had. Until you had me trapped in prison, I'm not going to listen to what you have to say. And a lot of that stems back to me being molested by my grandfather.
Yeah.
And if you couldn't protect me
Yep.
back then, but yet you want to tell me what I need to do with my life now, I'm not going to have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
So I'm the shot caller of my life.
Yeah.
Right.
And I didn't believe there was a God because these people talk about such a loving God. Well, if there's such a loving God, then why did he let this happen to me?
Right.
And I had really no understanding of God because I wasn't raised with the God. I was raised with the punishing God. That no matter if my mother was smoking a cigarette or cooking a pork chop or we were going to hell. So I said, if I'm going to hell, I'm going to be a lesbian. I'm going to be a drug addict. I'm going to be this. I wanted to be everything that is against what you believe,
Yeah.
you know? So, you know, it's just, I know that there is a God today because when I was going to look at that third strike, you know, and it was scary because the DA was basically saying that I wasn't going to touch down. And to me, that meant I'm not getting out.
Yeah.
And I will admit that while I was shackled, I could feel my knees knocking a few times because getting 25 to life means you're not going to have no human contact except for the animals that you're locked up with, and there are animals in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really had pictured it in my mind, man, I'm not going to be able to hug my mother, kiss my mother. I'm not going to be able to kiss my children, you know, and I lost my pop while I was busted, and I wasn't able to go to his funeral. And I lost my baby sister, the one that was in the wheelchair. I lost her 6 months afterwards.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to go to her funeral. So right there, I started realizing I was an addict. But getting back to that part, and when I was in county finding that case, well, they lost the evidence. So they were trying to get me to plead guilty
With no evidence.
with no evidence. And I said, and I didn't. I didn't plead guilty, and my mother was gonna pay. It was a lot of money to fight my third strike, and all she said is that if they end up trying to sentence you with that, I'm gonna get you a lawyer. And so what ended up happening was the judge was so like he was just done with it, and they were taunting me every time I showed up in the court. You know, the DA was touching his pocket like he had me in his pocket. He was he was taunting me, and you know they have so much power.
Yeah.
Whether people want to believe that or not,
They
especially with people who don't have any money. And but my mom would show up for me every court case, and that meant a lot to me, you know. But pissed the DA off and all that, but they let me out at 7 o'clock that night.
Do it out.
Just threw it out.
Yeah.
But I was looking at a life sentence, man. When I got out, man, I went and I was in Indio County, and I just bent down on my knees and I just started kissing the ground,
Yeah.
you know. And you know that it wasn't enough for me because I picked up and used again, you know. And that's how real this addiction is, you know. And it was my way of life. It just wasn't something I did a couple times and. You know, I did it. I thought at first to have fun, but truly I was doing it because of being molested. I really believe that, like I said, the reason why I didn't like school was my grandfather would pick me up because he owned a construction company. So I guess he could come and go whenever he wanted to, and both of my parents worked. So he would pick me up out of the grade before kindergarten, and he would drive behind the dumpster at school, and he would molest me on the front seat of the car.
Damn.
And anytime I would go to school, like, people would just stare at me. And I don't know if it's because of the ugly ass clothes I was wearing, but I would feel naked.
Yeah.
I would feel like that they seen what he was doing to me. And you know, my whole childhood, I just felt like I was a piece of meat. I felt like that's why I was here, for somebody to just do that to me, you know. And I was really shy as a little girl, but I had so much anger and rage inside of me that the only thing that really contained all that was using.
Right.
If I used, then you didn't have to see that side of me. If I got really mad, you seen that side of me.
Yeah.
You know, and I learned how to be very vindictive at a young age because my grandfather had 40 counts against him. And then they had so much money that my mom even said their money bought them out of that because we were in court for 4 years.
Damn.
So, so I've been very angry about money. I've been very angry with anybody in authority, and I'm gonna show you that you ain't gonna tell me what to do. No one.
Yeah.
And all that had been was because I didn't feel protected as a child,
Yeah.
and so that made me feel like I wasn't loved, and I feel like a lot of the family members on my dad's side, they knew about that. Because they would try to protect me. The family across the street from my grandparents' house, whenever they would see me over there, they would bring me to their house. And they would make me stay there
Yeah.
until my mom got home from work. So you knew. You knew. I should have never been going over there. But my parents had no choice, and they didn't know.
Yeah.
And nobody told my parents, like, my grandfather had a lot of power, you know? And so did his brother, you know? I don't, you know, so it was just a real fucked up deal.
Yeah.
Because I was raised with this big old family, had all kinds of cousins, and then they were all just taken away from me. So I really made the streets my family, you know, and I gravitated toward Mexican people, you know, and because they show a lot of love. And then as I got older, I noticed that it happened in their families too.
Yeah.
They just never did it to me.
Yeah.
But I really just didn't care about anything. I knew that I wanted to have a baby. I wanted to have a baby out of selfishness, to have something to love and to be able to give the love that I thought I should have always gotten, you know. And I was very overprotective, but I couldn't even stay clean during my pregnancies. So, I don't know. I've gotten some help, you know, with what's happened to me. I did a little hypnotherapy, and it really helped reverse the rage that I had because, man, somebody was going to pay for what my grandfather did to me.
Right.
You know, I was really crazy. You know, I even went and robbed my mother's house. And she always kept a loaded gun in between her mattress. And while she was sleeping, I snuck in her house, got her gun. I took it to his house. I had my older sister, because he molested my older sister too. And I just stuck it to his face. And I was going to blow his head off. And because he lied through the whole court case, you know, and it was the most uncomfortable thing to have to testify everything he did to us in front of strangers.
Yeah.
So my sister panicked, and she hit the gun out of my hand, and she told me to get my fucking ass in the car, and she dropped me off on Mount Vernon. And after that, we never spoke again. And it was just, I would say maybe 3 months ago, her daughter found me, and I spoke to her for the first time in 44 years.
Wow.
So a lot of times I sit back and it feels like my life was just torn apart. Like, that's how it feels. And for the longest time, it felt like the only thing that kept it together was drugs. So I really appreciated drugs. But when I stopped appreciating them is when I was getting loaded while I was pregnant, to be honest. And when I went to prison for all them years and I lost my father and I lost my baby sister. And when I woke up in prison, because I did wake up in there, I used to go sweat on the native in the native yard, and it woke me up.
Spiritually woke you up?
Spiritually woke me up
Yeah.
to where I went into my cell, got on my knees, and said, God, if you're really real, remove this obsession from me to use. And the obsession was gone. I was no longer thinking about it. Like, even in prison, I was still thinking about it. Like, when I get out of here, I'm just gonna fucking get high. I can't wait to get high, you know. And but when I got out, I mean, I was at a point where I wanted to better my life, and I started bettering my life while I was in there. You know, just with my thinking and just watching who I was hanging around with on the yard, but I never thought that I would be where I am today.
Yeah.
You know,
So when you got out from that, you did use some more?
I did use some more. What happened was the judges said, if you ever come back in our courtroom, you'll be doing a life sentence.
Yeah.
For anything you show up in here for, like, and so I told them to ship me to my mom's. So I took a minute, but I paroled to over there in Riverside County in DHS, and then I ended up coming to my mom's and got a parole officer out here. And I was doing good for a while, but it's just my mom was being pushy, like, come out of the room, you know, and I was trying to get a job. Nobody wanted to hire me. Nobody wants to hire a felon,
Right.
you know, with burglaries. I have burglaries on my record. So I didn't write that down or anything like that, but they probably run your name because nobody, not even McDonald's would touch me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I came down to my mom's. I used again, and I started using with one of her renters, and they were just passing the torch over the fence and getting high. And it got to the point where I was so uncomfortable that I couldn't face my mom. So I started running already. And then they just called my parole officer, and my parole officer said, go get help or I'm going to help you, you know? And so I ended up going to the Gibson house, and that's where I met Mike Fuller. And Mike Fuller started taking me to church, and he was just really there for me.
Yeah.
Took me to my dad's gravesite for the first time, bought me flowers to put on my dad's gravesite, sat there with me the whole time while I was talking to my pop. He was like a mentor. I don't know, he's really an angel, kind of like, because every time I kept going back and forth, deep down, I wanted to die. You know what I mean? I had so much shame for what happened to me. It was hard for me to face myself, number one,
Yeah.
right? And to get really honest about what happened and what I wanted to do about it. Because I didn't want to do anything about it. I felt like he should come do something about
Right.
it. He's the one who did it. Why should I put myself back together? You know? And that's where my rage stemmed from, you know? But Mike was just there for me, you know? And I don't know, he really is a fine example of somebody who believed in me until I could believe in myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went to the Gibson house, and then I ended up getting off parole there, and then I went to South Dakota. I just jumped on a bus. Oh no, he put me in set free because I couldn't stay. He put me in set free, him and Mikey P. They put me in set free, and then I stayed there for a year, and then I found out they were getting loaded at the church.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I had to get out. I just knew that I told the pastor, the kind of girl I am, I'll sell your pews. You know what I mean? Like
Right out the back door.
right out the back door. And so I had a friend who was in South Dakota, and she's all, if you can get on a bus. So the hardest thing for me to do was ask people to help me get a bus ticket, help me ship my stuff over there with FedEx, the little stuff that I had. And I had a job as soon as I got off the bus, and I just worked in a casino. And I was like, how could I just get a job out here so easy? Because they don't look outside their state to what charges you have. Because I was a prep cook in a casino where they were pushing big old crates of money around, you know? And my mind, the first thing my mind thought was, wow, I could take this stuff and walk down the street and they couldn't even catch me,
Yeah.
you know? But I'm just grateful, though, because what ended up happening through that process is I wasn't going to meetings or anything like that. There were really not any meetings out there.
Yeah.
I just went to work every day. Went to work, came home, went to work, came home. And it was crazy, you guys, because, like, I didn't know how to pay bills. In fact, they would send me a bill, and I would call them up, and I would tell them, cut this fucking bill off. Like, I'm not even here. You know, I didn't have no concept of living life on life's terms.
Right.
So it was rough for me.
You had to
Man.
learn all that stuff.
And I started drinking there. Like, went to a Christmas party, started drinking Fireball, you know, smoked weed at the Christmas party. And I knew, I just knew how to get back to my mom.
Yeah.
And it seems like no matter how far I try to run away from my mom, man, I'm always back with my mom. You know, and I'm grateful for that because I have a second chance to be a daughter, to help my mom, you know, and that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. Was that the last time you used? Was out there?
I believe that is the last time I used. I haven't used anything. What happened is when I came back here, I got into a relationship, And the deal breaker is that if I used her drink, it was over. Well, every time I would try to leave this relationship, I was being told I was jealous and insecure and, not anything he was doing, but just what I was. So I said, I'm going to drink. So I went and drank, and he was like, when are you leaving? I go, in the morning. So I had my mom get me a U-Haul. So, yeah, I believe that is the last time I used or anything. But I drank, because I'll be 6 in February. I drank, and I just drank out of a beer. But I didn't use.
Yeah. So you got almost 6 years now.
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
What is your, when did you start getting into the fellowship? Was that at the beginning of this 5+ years, or?
I think, I've been around.
You've been around?
I would show up to meetings, but I wasn't doing nothing.
Yeah.
It was like all for a show. Like, I'm here, leave me alone.
Yeah.
But I started really getting into the fellowship with I've had some pretty good sponsors who tried to sponsor me, but anytime I would get to that 4th step and have to dig up that pain and my relationships and the pain and all that, then I just would run.
Yeah.
So I would. It's not about firing him. I just didn't want to go forward.
Yeah.
And because I was unhealed.
Yeah. And it's like sometimes we run from those things without even realizing that we're running. You know what I mean? Like, just subconsciously, like, we tell ourselves, like, oh, I don't need to do this, or this. How's this gonna help me? Like, by talking about all this stuff, like, I'd rather just bury it. I'd rather just not even speak about it, just leave it where it's at, right? And so, like, we don't even understand, like how much we're running until, like, we stop running. And they're like, man, this whole time I had been running from something that is supposed to be therapeutic, right? And for those who don't know, with the 4th step, it's a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves, right? And it talks about the past, it talks about the secrets, it talks about, like, all those things that have been haunting us, right, our whole life, right? What was our part in the situation? How did I play a role in this? Like, what was the offense? You know what I'm saying? Why was I so offended by this? Why did this bother me so much, right? And for me, it was important for me to talk about those things, right? And it's so crazy because, I tell people all the time, because people get scared of the 4th and 5th step, right? And that's when they start running. I'm like, bro, like, if you keep running from this shit, like, that's all you're going to do the rest of your life is run, right? And I remember when I worked my 5th step, which is going over the 4th step, but there's more detail than just going over it, right? And there were certain things, like being touched as a kid, right? Being abused, right? Certain things that I did, right? Like allowing the mother of my children use drugs while she was pregnant, right? Like putting hands on her, right? Like all this stuff that I remember sharing on my sponsor's couch, right? In this little trailer park in San Bernardino, right? And I remember sitting there sharing these things and being like utterly, completely broken and like barely being able to talk, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm crying so much, you know? And then now I share about those things, and I'm not saying it doesn't affect me, right, in an emotional way, but it's not what it used to be, right? Like there were certain things that I couldn't even like begin to talk about without breaking, you know what I'm saying? And now those things are used as a tool to make somebody feel comfortable. Like, all right, look at you, feel fucked up, you're scared to share this. Well, this is what I've been through, right? And being able to share that to the point where it doesn't break me is a big part of healing, right? The things that used to hold me back are now the things that propel me forward. You know what I'm saying? The things that used to break me are now things that help me heal. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if anybody, right? And this, like, because we here, right, we've worked steps, right? We've done a lot of healing, right? Whether it's with therapy, whether it's in church, whether it's with the 12 steps, right? We all done healing, right? But like for anybody who's scared to talk about these things, man, it's just like, you know, they say you sweep it under the rug, right? What happens if you keep sweeping things under the rug? Nothing.
You got a pile under your rug.
You got a pile under your rug, bro, right? Nothing ever gets truly clean, bro.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing ever gets truly clean. And so, like, it's important for us to understand that we have to clear some of that stuff out. We have to get I know I had to, right? Everything that I was so scared to talk about and everything that I was so scared to share about, or like, I don't know if you could experience this, but I remember thinking to myself, like, if people knew who I really was, what I really been through, the things I've really done, then there's no way that you guys are going to love me. There's no way that you guys are going to accept me. And there's no way that you guys are going to love me, like let me in your house, right? And I found the total opposite, right? When I shared some of my deepest, darkest secrets with my sponsor, it wasn't a big deal, bro. You know, he made me feel really comfortable. He made me feel really loved through that whole situation. And the beautiful thing is for me, like, because of that experience, I get to do that for others, right? I get to be, it's crazy, man. Like, I get to be that anchor, right? Like, my sponsor was an anchor through all those wild emotions through my fourth and fifth step. And I get to be somebody's anchor when they go through all those fucked up emotions through their fourth and fifth step. You know what I'm saying? It's like you said, God is real, right? Because we're people like to sit here and like couldn't keep needles out of our arms, couldn't keep pipes out of our mouths. You know what I'm saying? Couldn't put the bottle down no matter what, right? And then like somewhere along the line, we go from the people that are screaming and asking for help to the people that get to reach their hand out when other people are screaming and asking for help. Like, if that's not a God thing, I don't know what it is, because it's not a me thing, right? It's not a Tammy thing. It's not a Mike thing, right? That's not, like, I couldn't muster up enough courage to do anything, bro. I couldn't muster up enough courage to go and put a job application when I'm loaded. I couldn't muster up enough courage to face any reality when I'm under the influence, or put it down long enough to like experience life for any amount of time without wanting to fucking kill myself. And then now, like, and it talks about it right in the book. It says that like a spiritual awakening is like, we could just look at, like, you could look at the last 5+ years and say, I haven't picked up and got loaded, right? I've been through some things where normally I would pick up and get loaded, and that alone is a spiritual awakening, right? Like, I get to walk through shit. I get to feel shit. I get to experience shit without picking up and getting loaded. That's a God thing, right? Because an Adam thing is anything tough, right?
Yeah.
Anything unmanned, anything that is hard to face. It doesn't even have to be tremendously hard. It could be something very small, but there's no way that I could complete this task. There's no way that I could walk through this without picking up and getting loaded, right? And something you said earlier that really stood out to me, like fucking... I convinced myself that I was getting loaded because I was having fun, right? Why do you smoke meth? Because I like it. It's fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy it, right? I didn't realize everything that I was hiding from. I didn't realize why I was getting loaded until I got clean and I started like digging deep, right? And I think that's an important part of being able to take a look at ourselves, right? Is why am I really getting loaded, right? What is really, what am I running from, right? And once we start to address what we're running from and start to even just facing those things, right? Once we start to face the truth, once we start to address what we're running from, like, things start to get better. I know for me it did, right? And that fourth and fifth step is I ran from it without even knowing it. I get a sponsor. I work 1, 2, and 3. I could admit that I'm powerless. I could admit that there's a God, and maybe I'll turn my will and my life over to him, right?
Yeah.
And then we get to 4th step, and then for some reason I got this wild hair on my ass, and I don't like this fool. You know what I'm saying? I don't like his girlfriend, whatever. I don't like the way he shared, right? Like I don't like the way he walks. Like, I will find any excuse without even knowing that that's what I'm doing. But the evidence is in my life because I did that 3 times in the past recoveries. I did it 3 times. So like subconsciously there is something there, even though consciously I wasn't like, oh, I don't want to work the 4th step, but I would work 1, 2, and 3, and then I got another sponsor because I didn't like the way he dressed. 1, 2, and 3, I didn't like his girlfriend, so I got another sponsor. 1, 2, and 3, I didn't like what he shared at a meeting, bro. And I remember what he shared at a meeting. He talked about how recovery is so simple. It's like making a peanut butter sandwich, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then he described making a peanut butter sandwich in one of the most complicated ways. And I was like, this is not the guy that I want to, you know what I'm saying? But like, there's evidence there that I'm running from a 4th and 5th step subconsciously without even realizing that I'm running from it, right? It wasn't until this time that I was willing, and I came in with a lot of trust issues. The people that were meant to protect me didn't protect me. The people that were meant to provide for me didn't provide for me. The people that were meant to be there for me weren't there for me. Right? So like, if the people they were put in those places of responsibilities to take care of me, right? Didn't take care of me. How the fuck are you guys going to? If I can't trust my mom, right? If I can't trust my dad, if I can't trust my anybody in my family, why the fuck would I trust any of you strangers in here? Right? And so that was a hurdle that I really had to like get over. And I think it just comes, for me anyways, it was just, desperation. This recovery for me this time was really a Hail Mary. Right? It was like, fuck it. We're just going to throw the ball as hard and as far as possible. We're just going to fucking hope for a miracle, hope that there's something catches, hope that something works this time. And if it doesn't, fuck it. I'm just going to be an addict. I'm always going to be an addict, but I'll just be an active addict. I'll just smoke dope until the day I die. You know what I'm saying? I'll go back out and fucking hit it harder than I've ever hit it before, and in hopes that I die soon. You know what I'm saying? But I threw that Hail Mary and fucking 12-step program caught the fucking ball, bro. Yeah. God caught the ball. It was like, who would have known that, like, if I would just give it my all, right? And all of those demons and trauma and experience that I never wanted to talk about. I never wanted to bring it up. I never wanted to face it. I thought if I just buried it, it would be fine. Who would have thought that all I had to do was muster up enough courage, right? From a God of my understanding, right? A fellowship that is a life-saving fellowship, right? People that I've learned to trust, right? Like if I could just face it with all that by my side, right? That things would be the way they are today. Right. And I'm not saying that I'm completely healed. I don't think anybody ever gets completely healed. Right. Like I get in a relationship, trust issues come up, like all this old trauma comes up, like all these things that like I thought I was healed from because I haven't been in a relationship for so long. So like I'm good. Right. But then like I get into this very intimate, like loving, caring relationship where like it's not about trusting you with my money. It's not about trusting you with my car. It's not about trusting you with my house. It's about trusting you with me. And then like all these things start to resurface, all these insecurities, all these like not being good enough, right, start to resurface. And it's like a reminder, you're not done. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like there's still work to be done, right? But knowing that like if I face these things, if I heal from these things, like I already healed from so much. I already faced so much that I just read where it talked about it in the Living Clean book, right? Where it said like our need for spiritual growth is infinite, right? And so like we're never done. There's never going to be, I don't ever want to sit on my couch, you know what I'm saying? Owning a business, because that's going to happen, right? Or having the car that I really want parked in the driveway, like having the beautiful wife, right? Having like all this stuff, my kids in college, right? I don't ever want to have all that and then sit on my couch and think to myself like I'm done, right? I'm done. Everything that I wanted to accomplish is completed, right? Because the truth is like my need for spiritual growth, my need for emotional growth, my need for mental growth is infinite, right? There's always going to be an area in my life that I need to work on. But all this started with my first, fourth, and fifth step. It all started there. My ability to be honest and open in that, right? Yeah. So I know I went on a little tangent. I
want to say one thing too with that, Adam, is that one question. I don't remember if it's in the fourth step, but it asked me what my part was in it. And I'm going to tell you right now, I was like, I didn't have a part in that. Yep. Even though, like, even my own grandmother said that I brought what my grandfather did to me on. I was a baby. But when they had asked me that one question, I said, nah, this shit ain't for me. Because if you think I have a part in it, right, then you're saying that what he did to me, it was, because it was my fault. Mm-hmm. And I had a hard time. I'm like, I'm not even going to look at that. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to answer that question. So that just shut me down from like, this program's not for me. Yeah. And but not really sticking around or even asking anybody to help me understand that question either. I was just like, nah, it's not for me.
Yeah.
But
sometimes our part is just holding on to it for so long. Mm-hmm. Right? Like shit that happened to me as a kid, right? 5 years old. And now I'm 24 years old. And I've been using that as an excuse of why I'm getting loaded.
Right.
Right? You talked about something earlier where he said like he's the one that hurt me, right? So it's his responsibility to do something about that. But that's not how it works, right? People could hurt us, right? And so there's like hurt and there's responsibility, right? So like we correlate, like if you hurt me, it's your responsibility to do something about it. But the truth is, as if somebody hurts me, it's my responsibility to heal from that, right? Because the truth is, like, if I keep shoving needles in my arm, putting pipes in my mouth, running the streets, the only person that's being harmed by not healing is me, right? People that harm us, some people go on and live their life, and they're fine, they're good. They don't give two fucks about how we feel, what it did to us. Like they just don't. So my part for everything that I have been through, right? For everything that I had experienced, even. Like I shared about last night, even watching my Uncle Eddie, overdose on heroin, right? That was a traumatic experience at 8 years old, right? Seeing somebody accidentally, I don't know if they accidentally, I don't know, but the story was he accidentally shot himself in the head. Witnessing that right out of my window at 5 years old, right? And then being touched, right? And then like all these other different experiences, right? What was my partner? Well, my partner was that I was a kid, right? I had no choice for the environments that I was raised in, but my real part was that I held on to it for so long, and I allowed that to fucking drag me down, right? And there's people out there right now, man, that like are in neighborhoods and gangs, and I have cousins that are from neighborhoods, right? And I tell them like, bro, you don't have to live like this, right? And their response is always what my response is. Oh, this is the way I was raised. This is the way I grew up. I didn't have a choice. Like that was always my response when people would try to tell me about the way I was living, right? This is the way it is, right? This is like I didn't have a choice in this, but the truth is like we have a choice, right? We have a choice. Are we going to keep going down this fucking path? Are we going to fucking do something different and break those fucking chains of our family, bro? Right? Not only is addiction a big part of my life, right? Or a big part of my like family bloodline, right? But it's also like the street, like the gangs, the poverty mind state. You know what I'm saying? Like all that stuff is so embedded in me that it's still hard for me to shake sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But it's like if I'm not gonna do it, right? And I'll end with this. I tell the people that I work with, if you don't address it, everything that you're unwilling to address, all the hurt, all the pain, all the suffering, all those fucked up thinking patterns, if you don't address it, guess what? Your kids are going to have to, right? And that's, for me, that's where it's at, right? My son, right, is not going to know, right, what it is to grow up in a household that's affiliated with gangs. I don't want that, bro. You know what I'm saying? I want to be able to sit down with my son when he starts to dress a certain way, talk a certain way, look a certain way, sit down with his little ass and say, look, this is not the road that we're going down, right? And I will go to any of your schools and I'll smack up any little fucking gang member that you're fucking hanging out with because this is not what's going to happen. For me, I was sat down at it was probably like 8 years old. My mom telling me, I don't want you to be from a neighborhood, but if you are going to be from a neighborhood, this is the neighborhood you're going to be from. No other neighborhood you could be from. Like that is not and I love my mom. I'm not trying to talk bad about her, right? My mom was an amazing fucking woman. She did the best she could with what she knew. Absolutely love her, right? But that is not a conversation that I want to have with my kids. The conversation I want to have with my kids is a little bit of fear. My kids, they know I could be a little fucking, off the hook a little bit sometimes, right? But I'll tell them like, bro, I will go down to any school. And if you think that I won't act a fool for you guys are the only people that I will act a fool for. You guys are the people that I will, go back to my old self if I have to. You know what I'm saying? Because we're not playing this game, right? Anything that we got to go through, like we could do it together, but like, no, you're not going to be from a neighborhood. But it was up to me to heal from that, right? Because my son's not growing up in the neighborhood that I grew up in. I won't even move back to San Bernardino. I just won't. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want my kids to walk through any of the things that I had to walk through, because a lot of it wasn't even in my household. It was just right outside the door. Right there. Right there in front of my eyes,
So Tammy, thank you very much for coming on and sharing with us. We really appreciate it. I want to ask you one last question. If you could give a piece of advice for somebody who's experienced the things that you've experienced or is struggling right now, maybe even still using, what would that be?
If anybody was experiencing anything I've ever experienced, I would encourage them to talk to somebody, to set their fear aside and find somebody they can trust. And even if you can't feel like you don't trust anybody, find somebody anyway. And I would encourage them to get help with their drug addiction, like, because of being a victim, if you don't get help, you'll never become a survivor.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like you, including me, I loved being a victim because it gave me an excuse to stay loaded. And today, I'm the opposite. I'm a survivor.
Hell yeah.
So then I never have to go back and be a victim.
Hell yeah.
That's all I would say.
That was
All right. Thank you, Tammy.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sammy. We
All right.
appreciate you coming on. And yeah, so everybody that's listening, please like, share, subscribe, send this to somebody that you think needs to hear Tammy's story, and come back next week and hear the next story.
All right.
As someone who struggled with addiction in the past, how does it feel to be able to give hope to others who are still struggling now?
You know, it's such an honor to be able to hear other people's experiences of life, to see how when faced with the very thing that was sent to destroy you, kill you, and take you out forever didn't, but rather you have been given a second chance to give hope and be a light for those who are still in the dark. So don't be afraid to share your message to the world. You never know whose life you might be saving.